There's chaos, not calm, before the budget storm that's coming, as Governor Crist holds back 15% of the dollars left for this year. Who's getting hurt? And the Florida Supreme Court upholds the controversial lobbyist law. All of that this week on Power Play with our guests, the bureau chiefs, Steve Bosquet of the St. Petersburg Times and Paul Fleming of Gannett News Service. So the governor's going to hold back 15% on paper of the rest of this remaining budget year dollars. What does that mean?
That means that agencies have to tighten their belts even more. They're tightening and tightening and tightening. They're slowly running out of money. And the governor did this for two reasons. The economy keeps tanking, the revenues are down, and they're not sure when the stimulus checks are going to arrive.
But we're hearing some horror stories about 70 fewer highway patrol troopers, kids being thrown out of school readiness programs. How much of it's real? How much of it's PR?
Well, first, that's two different issues. One is appropriations presentations this week are about the 09-10 fiscal year.
Right.
The 15% holdback that the governor announced this week is about this fiscal year before June 30. So two different issues, but this is Chicken Little week in the legislature when the sky is falling. All of those things you mentioned about, and don't forget about pay cuts for state workers, certainly in Tallahassee, that gets a lot of attention. And there is going to be pain and there are going to be cuts in this budget process, but we don't know yet exactly how it's going to be.
But isn't the sky falling, or isn't there a big, bad crack in the sky, given the fact that we are in this fiscal freefall that seems to have no end?
Absolutely. And that's why you're going to start seeing, especially in the Senate next week, you're going to start seeing the case being made for eliminating sales tax exemptions, maybe raising the cigarette tax, doing the Seminole Gaming Compact, raising a whole boatload of fees all through government to patch things up.
So it's basically 1 week justifying the next week? Is that what we're saying?
Save the Day week comes after Chicken Little week.
And I think part of this message, Paul, you agree, is directed straight at the face of House Speaker Larry Creedle, because they've been a little bit more skeptical about the need for new tax revenue.
As well as Governor Crist.
Yeah.
But what you're saying, guys, is that this is a long process. We're at the end of the third week, but we are going to see new revenue because there has to be new revenue.
It's a long process that's going to go a little longer this year than under the normal schedule of things. The House is behind on where they would usually be in the budget process, and it is because so much is up in the air about the federal stimulus money, about the Seminole Compact, about what fees and taxes may be politically viable to increase and how much money they're going to have to work with.
And how much is this resonating, if at all, with the people at large down in St. Petersburg or in Cocoa Beach?
Well, I think it's starting to resonate. I think one sign of that was you had thousands and thousands of people up in Tallahassee this week from PTAs all over the state saying, don't cut schools anymore. The crowd didn't quite meet their estimate of about 18 or 20,000, but they made a lot of noise and they were from all over the state.
Are people going to die? Because that's one of the things we're hearing about these budget cuts.
Well, without a doubt, there's going to be less spending on Medicaid and Medicare programs for the sick, poor, and the children. Without a doubt, that is going to be the case, and there's going to be pain, and it's going to hurt. It is not going to be as bad as it's being displayed this week. We'll see as it plays out about where the cuts are going to come and who's going to be hurt.
Well, the big smackdown of the week, we'll start with you, Paul, is the Supreme Court stuffing it to the lobbyist industry by upholding the so-called gift ban and fee disclosure.
They said that the Supreme Court said that the legislature may regulate lobbyists because there's nothing in the Constitution that prohibits them from doing so, and upheld the 2005 law that requires compensation be revealed by lobbyists. They have to report that on a quarterly basis, as well as keeping the gift ban in place, not a cup of coffee for lawmakers.
And what's the reaction in the lobbyist corps?
Well, they don't like it. I mean, they don't like having to disclose their fees. But frankly, what's happened is after the first round of stories about how much money lobbyists are making,
that's kind of a yarn.
The story
now
loses its punch. The gift ban is idiotic in the sense that they can still go to breakfast, buy their own cup of coffee, and shake down a lobbyist for $100,000 for a political slush fund.
As Kenny Plant pointed out very well by calling it totally stupid. All right, guys, we're going to go to your respective power play of the week. Steve.
It's the AG. Attorney General Bill McCollum goes around the bidding laws, hires an out-of-state political guy to film TV ads that warn against cybercrime. Miami Herald reports that he spent more than $1 million, paid $550 for makeup.
Makeup.
A makeup job that costs $550. McCollum should look like Hugh Jackman.
And is this going to be an impact if he runs for governor next year?
It's absolutely. It's a TV ad, undisputably.
That's his $400 haircut, like John Edwards.
Paul?
I'm going to go with former Senate President Tom Lee, who rammed through the gift ban in 2005. And though, as Steve points out, it does very little to take special interests out of the political process, it still is a thorn in the side of those lobbyists who have to reveal their compensation.
So he didn't win the CFO job, but he still has a legacy.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure he's very happy about that and sticking it to the lobbyists.
Paul Fleming, Steve Bosquet, thank you very much. For the latest political news, please go to the Safety Review, and we'll see you next time on Power Play.